Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a video on the Copperhead. It's a video called Compared to What, and it's not a good, bad, or ugly type of thing. We're not going to hate on any brand. It's just a fun look at how different knife companies make a pattern. And so we're going to look at that today. And there's going to be a little bonus because I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the Copperhead and throw some knowledge out there for your brain housing groups. And it's kind of interesting. Maybe you've never heard it before. So if you'd like to check out the video, go ahead. We'll see you in there. Hey, welcome back to the Fortified Castle. Hi, all my viewers. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your likes, your shares, and your comments, especially the comments. I really enjoy them. I think you all know that. We're going to be looking at this copperhead today. So what a copperhead is basically a jackknife. So it has a very distinctive look to it. It's flat on this side and then curves up slightly like a curved jack, and it's kind of like a cross between a trapper and one of Case's regular jacks. And so they're normally two-bladed, but you can find them with one blade too. I have an example of one-bladed one. So you can see right there, it's just a regular jack. But why it's different is the head on this knife right here. So the head kind of comes up and rounds over, which makes it very easily pocketable and makes it like a shadow knife. So a shadow knife is where you can't see this ridge that you normally see on the tang of a knife. Let me see if I got one here. So you can see the tang right there, the top square of the tang right here. And that little bump up here on a copperhead kind of hides that, so it's a lot more pocketable. I think these are were a pretty popular pattern throughout time. I got 3 versions here, and we're going to look at some of the differences. I guess we can start out with the size. So the case is 3 15/16. Mine actually measures a little bit longer than 3 15/16. So that's just short of 4 inches. I'm using my very expensive, highly accurate and calibrated Charles Leonard and Company ruler. That's how I do my measuring. And that's what I measured that at. Here's a Rough Rider. The Rough Rider Copperhead is 3 3/4 inches. And then I have a A.G. Russell. This model's made in China, and it is 4 3/4 inches. Did I get that right? Hold on. Yeah, that's right, 4 3/4 inches. So the case is the biggest. I find this at 3 3/4 kind of hard to hold on to, but it's very thin. So this is the single blade version right here from A.G. Russell. I also don't think that clip blade is the prettiest clip blade. There's something about it just, I don't know, looks kind of blocky. But the Rough Rider has a nice California clip blade right there. And the secondary blade is a full-size blade. And it's just a regular clip. So kind of different interpretation there, where you have basically 2 main blades on the knife. And then, of course, the case has a clip and has the pin blade, which is my favorite variation. I like having this really in any knife. I like a main blade. I'm not it doesn't have to be a clip, could be any kind of main blade, but I like to have a big main blade, and then I like a pen blade to do finer tasks. And really, really smooth action on this case. Really smooth. It's the smoothest action of all of these. So just looking real quick at the Rough Rider. It's kind of small, good spring. It kind of wants to spring into that half stop. I didn't mention that on the case, but all of these have a half stop. Seems to be a thing with the Copperhead. You can see just a tiny, the back spring is a tiny bit proud. My nail just catches it there. And actually, that is the case on every one of these knives. And so if you look at this A.G. Russell, it doesn't have half stops to say A.G. Russell. I just noticed that. So this is an inexpensive knife. It's part of their War Eagle brand. You see it right there. Web War Eagle brand. And it's just a less expensive alternative that A.G. Russell offers out of China. And it doesn't have the backstop or the half stop on it. So out of these three, these two have the half stop, and this one doesn't have the half stop. This is just a synthetic scales on this. These are really pretty inexpensive knives. I liked it. I just bought it to see, what their offering would be like. And I think it make a really good EDC knife and very affordable. And I believe this is G10, contoured in G10. Cool scales on this. Fairly good work on it. Not perfect like you'd expect out of a lot of Chinese knives, but pretty good option if you're looking for a quality knife that saves you a little money. The Rough Rider, this pattern in Rough Rider tends to be pretty good. Their pattern. I have a couple of these Copperheads from Rough Rider, and they're pretty good work, and of course, very inexpensive on them. Again, this synthetic scales on this. And on this one, you have the bone scales, of course, just gorgeous red bone on here with a really cool enameled case shield. Really nice. Good penetration on this die. Looks really good. Nice and even. Good job. Good job on this one from Case. I like this too. So it has a little USA etch in there, the bolster. All right, so let's talk about the history of this knife. So this Copperhead right here design is one of the great mysteries of the knife collectors, right? Where does this come from? When does it come from? A lot of people will tell you that Case was not the first one to use a Copperhead. I've said that in my videos before. Other content providers say that, and I believe it was Bernard Levin who said that Case was not the first one to use a Copperhead. So I've done a lot of research on this. So initially, when I started getting in these Copperheads, I'm looking and trying to find out all about them. And then recently, getting ready for this video, I did some more research. And I can tell you what I found. And so you don't really see an example of this Copperhead design in English cutlery, which is, I think, what Bernard Levin is thinking about. And I've got a number of old catalogs. It just doesn't show up. And so the the first place I see this show up is in this picture right here. It's a Hibbard, Spencer, and Bartlett catalog. It not only has their marked HSB knives, which are all contracted knives anyhow, but not only has their brand, but it has other brands like this knife right here is a Lawton knife, but they have like George Westinghouse. They sold a lot of different brands of knives besides their own. But in this video, you can see that this knife looks like it has a copperhead. And so that's why I left this up for so long, so that you could really look at it and see. So that's gone now. And then you look at the copperhead on a case, and it's pretty much the same thing. The one on the Lawton probably didn't have the best curve right here. A little different type of knife, but clearly the copperhead appears in a catalog in 1884 from an American knife manufacturer. And so you'd have to assume that that idea came from an American knife manufacturer. Now, the thing is, I'm not going to be dogmatic about it, because people like Bernard Levin, Bruce Boyles, et cetera, these guys had access to knife collections that are old and complete and documented, the really high-end knife collections. So they definitely have more access to information than I have. And so you have to give weight to that, to Bernard Levin, when he says, that these were, Case did not come up with this brand. But this pattern comes out in Case in 1915, pretty early. And the Case brothers, got into the business in 1884. That's that catalog, remember? That catalog I mentioned, HSB catalog, came from 1884. So they probably, had access to and looked at a bunch of different knives and saw a bunch of different knives, were exposed to different knife companies. And so it's possible that they just picked up on this. And this is something that may not, isn't always exploited. So you see things in knives that are great ideas, but they just seem to go away, and they're not exploited by other knife companies. Maybe they didn't sell well, maybe, who knows? Maybe it's just too hard to do this. So the frame has to be made this way, and then the bolster also had to be made that way to create one of these. And so, maybe sometimes it just boils down to the cost and the time it takes to manufacture something. But to me, it looks like that Case probably may not have invented this, but they definitely popularized it. And so they put it into the knife. The knife stayed in production. It's still in production. They're still producing these today. And so I think you have to give the weight to Case on this. I just don't see any evidence of English knives having a copperhead. So I'd be really interested if one of you are watching this and have an English knife that dates before the 19th century, that has a copperhead on it. I'd be interested to know that. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's pretty much all there is. These are all good knives. And the Case is the best. It's made better, looks better. It's just better than all of these. But they're all good, viable options. I've got a really neat one I like. Of the Rough Rider Copperheads. And then this is a pretty cool knife from A.G. Russell. I can't remember what it was. I think it was around $30. Maybe a little more expensive today, but this is a good option if you want something different. You don't want a Case. you just want to try something different, these are just fine. And it was the second War Eagle knife that I bought. Both of them are pretty good. So that's it on that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it informative, and I really appreciate you all for checking out the channel.